edit it as well. So,
Okay.
All right. Let me put me up there. All right. Hey, everyone. We are going to get started in a few minutes. Well, not minutes, a few seconds, really. We have Seth Halpern, another Seth. So it's going to get a little confusing this episode with Seths. Or Shannon. We're all S's. Shannon, Seth, and Seth. Woo!
We didn't plan that at all, but it's good.
It's good. So I think we're going to get the party started. Let me just give it that link there. All right. And in 3, 2, 1. And actually, no, I'm not even going to do this because we're episode 20. See, Shannon, I'm tired too.
We're both tired.
We're both tired. We just decided, for everyone who's watching live, we have decided that we're going to do this bi-weekly going forward just because Shannon and I have our day jobs we have to deal with, and we're getting exhausted. So we tried the every week thing. We're going to go every other week. I think you will all understand.
I would challenge how you said that. Not deal with. We both have growing businesses, which is awesome.
Yeah,
right? It's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah. And we're exhausted from those children that are our businesses.
Yes, for sure.
Awesome. All right, let's get the party started. So I think I'm ready this time. I think. Hey, everyone. I should count in. 3, 2, 1. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 20 of the Digital Marketing Guy podcast. With me. I didn't introduce myself yet.
You got this, Seth. Come on. I believe in you.
Totally believe in you.
Hello, Seth.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hey, everyone, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 20 of the Digital Marketing Dive podcast. I'm Seth with Goldstein Media. With me is, as always, the amazing, talented, kick-ass Shannon of Diane Business Consulting. Hey, Shannon, how's it going?
It's going great, Seth. Thank you.
Yes, and before we get started, as those who watch the live stream we just announced, we're going bi-weekly because Shannon and I both have very busy businesses that are growing, and we don't want to neglect you guys, but we also want to be able to sleep at some point. So
please.
So we're going to go bi-weekly with these shows. So Seth's episode is going to come out in 2 weeks instead of next week. The editing probably will even be better because of that. So good, So you ready to rock, Shannon?
Let's do it.
Yeah, that's great. So today we have another Seth. Seth Halpern is the Senior Vice President and a GM of, I think SMB is Small Medium Business Segment, right?
Exactly right.
Nice.
Of WP Engine and Flywheel, which are WordPress management hosting companies. They used to be separate, now they're together, and they're greater together. So we're going to talk about how picking the right hosting is imperative to your success online, and some tips on how you can make your small business, entrepreneurial business stand out online. So Seth, welcome, buddy.
It's great to be here. Thank you very much for having me. You've got a wonderful podcast. I can only imagine the amount of effort that goes into putting it out. So totally understand you adjusting your cadence, but thrilled to be here.
We trust it, but we're adjusting with a great episode. So this is gonna be great. So
sure.
Seth, let's get started. How did you find your way into hosting, and being at Flywheel and being at WP Engine and Flywheel? What's the anthology of this?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. I think that there's a couple of things that came together for me. One is just always interest in high growth, high tech businesses that can impact businesses of all sizes. I think we've seen this incredible growth of WordPress in the marketplace, and
41%. Yeah,
it's actually amazing, and that number grows literally on a yearly basis. It's offered open source capabilities that have allowed a tremendous amount of flexibility, at low cost for individuals and businesses of all sizes. And so that's really interesting as the whole world just becomes increasingly digital in a whole lot of different ways. There was also a piece for me, which is I live in Austin, Texas. I love working for companies that are incredibly committed to their customers and incredibly committed to their employees. I've spent time at companies like that in the past. And WP Engine and Flywheel are very, very focused on both of those things. And so for me, this like notion of like the culture of the company, where it was focused, the space that it was operating in, how it was growing, really strong backing, really strong product. All these things came together and represented just a great place to work.
That's a really great thing to hear, that the company has such good culture, especially as they're growing, right? We work with small business owners and entrepreneurs a lot, and that's at the heart of a lot of what, the companies they're building, and they're wanting to help out those employees and they're wanting to build that culture. But as things start to grow, a lot of times that kind of dissipates. And so it's so good to hear that a company that size is maintaining that.
It's a great thing. I mean, culture matters, I think, for companies, like so many companies of different sizes. I think you have to be really intentional as you grow, which is like, how do you hire like people that share the same values and align with the culture? How do you make sure that the culture translates from like current employees to future employees?
Right.
And then how do you like really act it out and build on it?
Absolutely.
Totally hear you.
It's fantastic. And full disclosure, I am a Flywheel customer. I've been a Flywheel customer for 4 years. So, and Seth, when WP Engine bought Flywheel, Seth came aboard and he introduced himself, and we became friendly, and he's helped me out with some craziness with my clients from time to time, and so I've been a very happy customer for 4+ years, and you can tell that the community really in the company really shines. They use GIFs or GIFs in their support tickets. They're very happy, and you can tell they enjoy it, because there's not a lot of turnover. Like, I've had Shelby, my account manager, for at least a year now, and it's been great. So full disclosure, I am a customer of Flywheels, so I gotta get that out there. So so when Flywheel and WP Engine, I like to say, join forces. Well, it's WP Engine actually bought Flywheel. How does this help the small business and entrepreneur? Because WP Engine is a lot more developer focused, and that feels like Flywheel is a little bit more. I hate to say this, but friendlier. It's easier to navigate. Like, I understood the dashboard easier than I did with WP Engine. Everyone cuts it differently. So,
before you answer that, let me add one more thing to it.
Yes.
Why don't you explain what both actually do for our entrepreneur, small business owners who may not be in that tech kind of atmosphere?
Yeah. What is WordPress optimized hosting, essentially?
Absolutely. So both WP Engine and Flywheel offer managed WordPress hosting, right? So there's if you have a website for your business, there are lots of different options in terms of the technology you use to build and manage the site, and then where you actually park the site. WordPress, as I'm sure some of your viewers know, is a growing open source technology. As you mentioned, more than 40% of the internet has some component of their website built on WordPress. So it's become very, very mainstream and grows, continues to grow rapidly. So there's, for WordPress, this growing technology, there are a variety of options in terms of where the hosting can be provided and what services are delivered. WP Engine and Flywheel both, WordPress is all we do. It is the only CMS technology, if you will, that we align to. So we have a deep base of WordPress expertise internally that translates to all of our customers in terms of.
I love it because of that.
Market.
Because of that, I love it, because if I have an issue with WordPress and I'm not quite sure where it is, it might be hosting, it might just be something I did that was wackadoo. Flywheel, and in essence, WP Engine, they've always been very helpful in helping me figure out where the issue is, if something that they can help me with, or point me in the right direction, saying this plugin works best, this plugin doesn't. The customer service, I think, is better because they're not trying to be something for everyone. They focus, and I really like that about them. So
absolutely.
And then how does it translate into the small business and entrepreneurs?
For sure. I think small businesses are really focused on growth and expansion. And WordPress, as I think about our customer base, it goes from individuals all the way up to some of the largest companies in the world, literally. And it allows for growth and expansion. WordPress does, WP Engine and Flywheel do, like throughout that spectrum. There's a tremendous amount of flexibility, regardless of business model and needs digitally. There's a tremendous amount of flexibility that our customers have. And so for SMBs that are thinking about growth, it allows them, to potentially enter in as a single person operation and scale up as large as they need to go. And so that, that manifests itself in WordPress technology, and then also the plans that we offer that, fit with a variety of shapes and sizes.
That's fantastic.
And it really is like our bread and butter. We have many very large customers, but really, like, we've kind of grown up as SMB centric, and like I'm proud to represent that business. That's
awesome. Yeah. So you also, WP Engine has Torque magazine. Flywheel has the layout. I'm never actually been quite sure. Is it the or the layout, whatever.
Right.
They have excellent articles and posts about business operations, not just hosting. How have these blogs helped educate the consumers on your brands?
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely. I mean, it's interesting. Like our, we talked about culture and values at the outset here. One of those real pillars for us is the notion of committed to give back, right? And we spend a lot of time celebrating and recognizing our culture and values internally. Committed to give back is one of those named components. And for us, that means giving back to our physical community where we do business in. And, we have significant presences in Austin, Omaha, Nebraska, which is where Flywheel was created and was headquartered. London, Brisbane, Australia, Limerick, Ireland. Those are like primary presences for us. So we're committed to give back in those communities, but we're also committed to give back to the WordPress community itself. So like we are, investing in code, creation for WordPress, and then also helping to bring thought leadership to the marketplace around how to best leverage WordPress. And those are some great examples where, I've, during my 3 years at the company, I've really learned to appreciate the value of community and the connection that WordPress community members have with each other. And we very much want to help, elevate the capabilities of that community and provide content wherever we can. And those are good examples.
It's incredible that you are fostering community. I mean, that's amazing, especially obviously I'm in the small business market, right? And entrepreneurs struggle with that community at times, having that community surrounding. And so I love that any companies that are fostering that level of community is amazing.
For sure.
It's great. Yeah. So here's the thing. I with a lot of my customers, I hear when they say, well, Flywheel / WP Engine, but Flywheel for the most part is expensive. It's not exorbitant, but it's not like some other companies. I'm going to try not to say names here. They're like, it's $1 a month for hosting, and it's $3 a month if you want managed WordPress hosting. I can fully say I'm never a fan of theirs because I've tried them. If they're managed, they're not managed very well. That's all I gotta say. But how do you compete with people that are saying? I mean, obviously it's different when you're doing WordPress. You can say we manage WordPress, we focus only on WordPress. But then these other people that companies that do everything, Joomla, Drupal, build their own site map thingies. They all have stuff. How do you differentiate from those? Because I mean, a lot of them are very active in the WordPress ecosystem as well. Yeah, in my opinion, not nearly as good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. I mean, we certainly have competitors that would bill themselves as low cost. I think what you're getting with WP Engine is really smarts, capabilities, knowledge of the WordPress space that ties to how we can identify security threats, right? And completely head them off at the pass. Thinking, WordPress is, it's not just about WordPress, it's about the plugin ecosystem that's part of that world. And we have offerings tied to, managing updates around plugins, and so that, our customers don't have to bother with that themselves. knowledge about, plugins that work or don't necessarily work particularly well with WordPress. Just streamlining the entire process of managing a site. You mentioned earlier about the support experience, and like, thank you for sharing that. It's great to hear it, but we're really committed to our customers. If there's some issue, that we're helping to resolve that, because they're running 24/7 businesses, and we need to be there to help them at a moment's notice if there's an issue. And because of our knowledge around WordPress, we can really help with an understanding of what the root cause is. Whether it's something on our side, on the website's side, we can help untangle that because of that knowledge. So there, some of our customers, would acknowledge that there's a premium relative to other options in the marketplace, but it is, like, from our perspective, it's not a commodity decision, and sometimes that decision gets made commodity style. It's not a commodity decision because it's really strategic to your online presence.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let me take a break real quick and thank our new sponsor. We have a new sponsor because as COVID's ending, we do want to say Breezy Masks are fantastic. You can still, of course, go thank them and go over and get masks over there. But we have a new sponsor called Savvy Cow. Not cow. I am from Philadelphia. I can't say it. Savvy Calendar, only it's cow. Sorry. I just realized as I said it out loud, it sounded like cow. I just moved. So anyhow, we want to thank Savvy Cow. The link's in the show notes. The scheduling tool your recipients will love to use. I've tried a bunch of these suckers. I mean, HubSpot has one. Calendly is one of them. And they all kind of work, but they involve you going over to the calendar, looking at your calendar, going back over to the other person's Calendly or, HubSpot or any of them out there. Microsoft has one where you have to choose, from a list. And it doesn't superimpose your calendar on top of their calendar. Savvy Cal does exactly that. They actually superimpose your calendar, your Google Calendar on top of, or Outlook Calendar for that matter. I think they do Outlook Calendar. Don't quote me on that. At least your Google Calendar on top of the other person's Google Calendar. And you can see where there's openings. And it makes life so much easier. Because nothing's worse. I mean, nothing's worse than going back and forth and saying, I'm available these days, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. All these tools are out there to kind of save you from doing. But then you have this, like, oh, let's go to my link and pick a time. But then I have to pick a time from a list. Doesn't work out that well. This, I have had people say, booking time with you, Seth, has been so much easier since you switched to Savvy Cow. Still sounds like Cow. I got to talk to them about changing their name. I don't know about that. But anyhow, it's a great service. I've been using them for months now, and it's great. I love it. Give them a try. They're price competitive, so they're really great. Tell them that we sent you. Go to socl.bz/savvy, SAVVYCAL, and you can try them out. I think they have a trial there as well. Give them a test drive as well. So let's go back to Seth here. And so, Seth, what kind of things, and we kind of addressed this a little bit, but what kind of things does WP Engine and Flywheel do for the entrepreneurial community? Like to encourage the entrepreneurial spirit, to help small business, especially this last year, which was completely, to use my favorite word, wackadoo. What have you guys been doing to help out the entrepreneurial community?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, like, we have a broad range of entrepreneurs that are leveraging our service. I think what we found, turning back the clock a year ago, was a very wide range of situations for our customers in general. Many of which are entrepreneurs. So we had some, thinking back to like March, April, like spring of 2020, as conditions were changing so rapidly. We had some that really flourished and were thriving, and they needed our expertise in terms of like, how do they scale fast?
Sure.
How do they scale fast as, just consumer behavior was changing rapidly. Like there were, in some cases, there were dramatically higher need for their services. And so like partnering with them in terms of like really, their needs online and like how that evolved as they needed to grow. There were other situations where, all of a sudden, like their revenue streams shrank dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
And so working with them to understand their situation, and being able to partner with them and make life easier during, hard times, in some spots. And we saw like significant groups of both of those categories that I described. It was very interesting to watch. So
that's a good way of saying it. It was very interesting to watch how it could have gone either way for people.
Absolutely. And we saw a lot of both. I think at the beginning of the pandemic, it was just so unclear the impact it would have on various customers. And generally, I think to summarize it, in a lot of spots, certainly not every case, but in a lot of spots, you either had business models that accelerated because they already had a strong digital orientation, or you had businesses that just pivoted to take on a stronger digital presence because they had to. And they increased their investment in so many ways in terms of online. So you had organizations in that category, and then you had others that really did see their business shrink dramatically, and then they're working through recovery. But we were we found ways to sort of lessen the burden on them through that time, because you had some that just all of a sudden the bottom fell out from under their business.
It's a very weird. I mean, how was it for you? I mean, you obviously had a full-time job, but I mean, how was COVID in that whole last year for you? I mean, you have kids and all that. I mean, I'm sure it was very strange and bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, like we all have our our own story and experience for what the last year's been like. I mean, two kids who are middle school and high school aged, and I think they weathered it as well as possible. But it was staring at a screen for virtual school for most of the year is like probably lots and lots of us can relate.
Yeah,
to. I think. Personally, like I was able to spend more time with them. I prior to that, I was used to commuting to downtown Austin. I tend to get back home like after dinner. So I have dinner with them and my wife, basically every single night. And we pass each other like during lunch. Like I see them, we catch up for a few minutes.
Oh, so they're virtual. Oh, okay.
So they're one is now back in school, full time. The other one is like just starting to go back into school 4 days a week. But for most of the time, I would see them during the day. So it was a real positive in that regard. But I think in general, like it's just been a huge perspective check, right? Like everything we do, like is fraught with all kinds of like challenges and obstacles. But you realize like how many different ways you're fortunate in, like the relationships you have, the fact that, you can work from home, you work with, in my case, work for a company that is understanding of its employees and the challenges that everybody has gone through.
That's fantastic.
So it's been a massive, massive perspective.
Are you back in the office now, or are you still at home?
We're not. This is my home office where I've been for pretty much all of the last year or so. We have not reopened.
Wow.
Thinking actively about what that actually is going to look like here in Austin. We're actually working on a remodel of our downtown office. So
no one's there.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. And like what the requirements will be like as sort of like. The office opens up will be different than it was before, where we had a really strong, like sort of desk orientation, where now it'll be more about collaboration and so on. So generally speaking, like our offices, are in a spot where people are working from home across, most of those locations. Like in a couple places we've opened up where we have like smaller international presences, a day, a couple days a week, but generally our folks are all working from home. And I think like, while people truly like miss each other, like I think that's part of our company is like people like being around each other. Everybody can operate remotely. Like people can do their jobs, like, they can function at a high level professionally from virtual offices. So we've continued forward on this, but, I think people are eager to see each other again.
I'm sure, yeah. Well, this has been awesome, Seth. Thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. I'm a big fan. I'm going to make Shannon a big fan. She doesn't know it yet, but,
Are you kidding? That's not my department, Seth. That's your department.
That's my department. So she doesn't even know that I'm going to be moving Dime over to Flywheel shortly anyhow. So surprise. No. Anyhow,
if you told me that's where we're going, I'd be like, awesome, do it.
Exactly. She's like, Seth, you deal with it. Let me know when it's done. That kind of thing. But Seth, this has been so much fun. Shan, as always, a blast. We want to thank our sponsors. Always Breezy Masks. They were our sponsors from the get-go. Savvy Cow. Alex Tillman, who's at the top of the show, that isn't on the live stream, but we want to thank him for sponsoring the show. If you're enjoying this season, and still like us, even though we're going bi-weekly, please don't hate us. That's for the best for everybody. A little less Seth Goldstein in the world might be a good thing. So.
Oh, stop.
If you're enjoying the season, please feel free to give us a review on Apple Podcasts or the podcast directory of choice. We appreciate all the support. And if you're so inclined, over at podchaser.com, give us a review there, because that's kind of a hardware agnostic place you can kind of review, and it's an up and coming podcast community. So also reach out to us at hello@digitalmarketingdive. You can find all of our links at dmd.fm or digitalmarketingdive.com. You both. And you can find us at Digital Marketing in some semblance of the way on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch. So, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Woohoo!
Again, thanks, Seth.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.